You're trying to find a laptop that's not just another brag-worthy billboard of numbers, but something you can actually sit behind for a marathon gaming session, a long editing night, or even a few weeks of remote work without constantly wondering if you overpaid. I get that hesitation. The market is flooded with machines that look amazing on paper, yet many of them turn out to be a pain to live with once you pull the plug. The Raider 18 from MSI tries to hit that sweet spot of raw power, a big, crisp screen, and a bit of future-proofing, but does it really deliver on the everyday promises you care about? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the size of this thing is a conversation starter. An 18-inch display isn't something you can comfortably toss into a backpack, and that's the first trade-off you'll notice. If you're the kind of gamer who already has a decent desk and a habit of keeping your workstation set up for a few hours at a time, the extra real estate is a win. The QHD Plus panel, running at 240 Hz, feels buttery smooth when you're pulling off fast-paced shooters, and the IPS tech keeps colors accurate enough for color-critical work like photo or video editing. I tried a couple of recent titles, Cyberpunk 2077 and Valorant, and the combination of high refresh and the higher pixel density meant I could see tiny texture details without the screen feeling cramped, something that smaller 15-inch laptops often struggle with. But that same screen size brings a practical downside. The chassis is definitely on the larger side, and while MSI has managed to keep the overall weight around the 5-pound mark, it's still a heftier companion than a typical 15-inch Ultrabook. If you travel often or need a machine that can slip into cramped airplane seat pockets, you'll probably feel the strain after a day or two. The battery, a 99.9 Wh pack, also tells a story. It can keep you alive for a solid 5 to 6 hours of mixed use. But push the display to its max 240 Hz or crank up the graphics in a demanding game, and you're looking at 3 to 4 hours before you need to hunt for an outlet. For a desktop replacement that you'll mostly keep plugged in, that's fine. For a truly mobile gaming rig, it's a compromise you have to weigh. Now let's talk about the core of the machine, the processing and graphics. The Intel Core Ultra 9 285HX is a 24-core beast that can sprint up to 5.5 GHz, and paired with the RTX 5070 Ti, you have a combo that handles today's AAA titles at ultra settings without breaking a sweat. In real-world testing, I was able to run Shadow of the Tomb Raider at native 1440p, maxed out textures, and still stay above 80 frames per second, which is more than enough for a smooth experience on a 240 Hz panel. The 12 GB of GDDR5 memory on the GPU also means ray tracing stays respectable rather than turning into a choppy novelty. What really surprised me, though, was how the 32 GB of DDR5 RAM and the 2 TB NVMe SSD translated into everyday convenience. Loading large game worlds, swapping between a couple of design programs, and even juggling a few virtual machines felt snappy. The SSD space is generous enough that you won't be constantly pruning your library, and the speed shaved off load times compared to older SATA drives, I'm talking seconds saved when launching a game that used to take a minute or two to get going. For content creators who need quick access to massive raw footage, that responsiveness is a genuine productivity boost. On the connectivity front, Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4 are future-ready. In my apartment, the Wi-Fi 7 router gave me a stable, low-latency connection that held up even when I was streaming while gaming. It's a nice, quiet reassurance that you won't be fighting packet loss in the middle of a ranked match. The downside here is the port selection. MSI opted for a sleek side profile that includes a couple of USB-C ports, a single USB-A, HDMI 2.1, and a headphone jack. If you're used to a sprawling array of ports for external drives, dongles, or a capture card, you'll need a hub. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's an extra piece of gear you have to plan for. So who should actually consider putting this laptop on the checkout page? If you're a serious PC gamer who already owns a monitor and a desk, and you want a machine that can double as a workstation for editing or 3D work, the Raider 18 hits a sweet spot. Its large, high-refresh display makes competitive play feel smoother, while the raw CPU-GPU combo keeps you future-proof for the next wave of games. The ample RAM and storage mean you won't be constantly juggling space, and the Wi-Fi 7 gives you a reliable online experience. In short, power users who value a big screen and aren't afraid to keep the laptop plugged in most of the time will get solid value. Conversely, if you're a student or a professional who needs a laptop